positions. They should be treated as such. The Bears are back, baby!
Hello and welcome back to i75Live. We are on episode 44. A lot has happened again in the world of sports. Kind of wrapped up a lot of big, the NBA Finals wrapped up.
It's football season.
It's finally
football season. Everything else is gone.
That's right.
No one cares about the middle of the MLB season. The home run derby's in 2 weeks. Cool.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We have really kind of gone into football season, a couple weeks out of training camp, so that's going to be...
teams report in like 3 weeks, I think.
And
2 or 3 weeks.
That's why we've started our series that we're going. Speaking of that, we're going into,
NFC
this
East.
week? The NFC East, which I think is
division.
a pretty popular division to talk about, just because everyone loves talking about the Cowboys,
Absolutely.
the Eagles winning the Super Bowl.
Cowboys winning the Super Bowl this year.
So that will be fun to get into. But before, don't forget, leave a like, drop a follow, drop a comment on all that. We appreciate everything, all the support, all the comments of getting back to people. It's always fun to see other opinions that people have.
Sports does that. It brings out everybody's opinion.
It does, and that's what I think
Fanatics.
sports is awesome. It's so opinionated, and you can have arguments for both sides no matter what it is.
That's right.
But NBA Finals, you brought up some interesting facts to me about, and we brought it up too, to where it was, hey, is this bad or good for the NBA?
Yep. Time to revisit.
When the NBA was kind of already on a very negative trajectory when it came to ratings and
Their numbers
stuff.
have been consistently down for 6 or 7 years at this point. It's just a consistent down curve. It's not good. And we had the conversation. Our small market teams bad for the NBA Finals. Now
And
you have two of them. Yeah, it happened. And you didn't have, there's no shortage of stars on either teams, but it did not seem to matter. Because, Game 7 was on Sunday, and it was the most watched finals game in 6 years, given that was the first Game 7 in almost a decade. I think the last one was 2016. But the overall finals was the least watched since 2007, when the Cavs got swept by the Spurs back then. Yeah. Excluding COVID season, obviously. We don't count that. But, is this proof? Is this proof that it's, I hate to say it is, but
I would say it was just kind of maybe like the cherry on top of the ratings and the downward, like we said, that we've been seeing for years now.
Yeah.
To where you put two teams that I think honestly no one could really care about, even though the MVP was on one and the Thunder have built this organically function team from draft picks, from trading, from all those things. Yeah. And it just didn't matter.
Nope. I can't put my finger on it. I really can't.
Well, and I also would say there were a lot of great moments for the people who did watch it.
Absolutely. I watched most games, and it was wildly entertaining, which just doesn't make any sense to me why the numbers are like this.
And I think, because I watched Game 5, Game 6, and Game 7. I would say Game 6... for Haliburton coming back from his injury, of people not knowing if he was going to play. That was a cool story. And then Game 7 of I know we have this kind of tagged, but him in Game 7, there was no way he wasn't going to play, especially after playing Game 5, Game 6, being hurt. Yeah. It does really, really suck though, because he was, that first quarter, he was 3 for 4 from
He finished
three.
the game leading in 3-pointers made, and he played 8 to 10 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
But he was on fire, and then all of a sudden you just see his leg explode, and so it's, it kind of, put yourself in his situation, knowing the consequences, knowing that next year you're not playing at all. This core that you just made it to the finals with has even less of a chance to be together after this upcoming current season. So instead of being able to run it back necessarily, do you still play the Game 7, even though you know what's going to happen?
There's no way I don't play the Game 7.
Speaking of the implosion,
there's just no
did you guys
way.
see LeBron's tweet after that happened? It was one word: fuck. And people are like, "Why? You listen. Too many people look up to you. You can't say that on a tweet."
I don't.
It was
I
bad
agree
for the
with.
league.
I agree with him. That Game 7 had. I think if Haliburton played the entire game, I do think the Pacers would have won. But I think it was going down to the last minutes, and it would have been one of the best finals. I think after everything that happened, all of the games and everything leading up to it, it had potential. But
I agree. To go to your question, though, there's no way as an athlete you're looking at that going, hey, you know, I played Game 5, Game 6 on it. I was fine. Yeah. It maybe sucked. It maybe hurt a little bit, but it's the NBA Finals, the pinnacle of my sport.
So you would have played that game.
I would have played that game 100%.
Out of 100 times.
Knowing the consequences, knowing everything, there's no way that I look at that and go, you know what?
So funny story though, you were telling me about you were talking to Haley about this, who's obviously now a PT doctor, right? So she's like, but you were telling her about this and
we kind of jokingly, because I was like, I asked her, I was like, what would a calf like strain like look like?
We talked about it literally before
it happened. Minutes before it happened.
Yeah, like because she said like he played 2 games on it, right?
Yeah, and she was like, well, that's a lot of stress for a basketball player.
2 games in a week
with an Achilles.
Yeah. Yes,
like and it puts a ton of stress on your Achilles because. And she was like, so I'm not going to say anything's going to happen, but there's, I would say, a decent chance that, and literally probably minutes after she said that,
I'm watching and I go, okay, Haliburton just tore his Achilles.
Talk about a crazy expectation.
Yeah. So it was, I feel really bad because, I do too. Like you said, for the league. It is. We saw
one of their best players that just created a name for himself this entire playoffs.
There was also a weird stat where 3 players tore their Achilles in the playoffs and they all were wearing number 0.
8 players this year tore their Achilles overall. Yeah. It's going up. And I think we don't have this written down, but this is something that I've thought about for a while, and I saw it on like Instagram or something, but do you think either the NBA needs to shorten the NBA season or reformat the playoffs so that the first round is like 5 games, best of 5? Because correct me if I'm wrong, it used to be like this. And then the divisional round would be 7 and then 7-7. But you could spread it out a little bit more that way, and maybe... I mean, I like the play-in just because, you know, it involves more teams, but I think there are too many games and not enough rest in between for a basketball game.
So you know why it would never happen?
Ratings and money and NFL.
All the contracts, all those companies will go back and go, okay, well, if you want to shorten the season, if you want to shorten the series, then we need our 27 million or 27, whatever it is.
But it's just crazy to me because, like, the injuries are going up.
Yeah,
and the rest is going down.
So on top of,
it's not a coincidence.
On top of injuries, back to all the way up to 2002 was when that changed. And I'm sure it had to do with money because until 2002, 2003 was the first season that they switched those to 7 games. They were always 5 before that.
So on top of the injuries, though, I've heard people come out and start saying, with our generation of athletes now, of how popular summer is, of how popular, like it's year round. You're playing from, you know, the start of the year, then you go to high school, then you go to your summer team, then you go to this. People are saying that when you do that, 10 years old, all the way up to the guys who make it to the NBA, by the time you get there, your body's it's slowly breaking down.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing stuff like the Haliburton thing to where he did his calf and then did his Achilles. So a lot of people are saying now are we putting too much stress on athletes to do all these things to even make it to the pinnacle of their sport? And then something like this happens and, you know, they're out for a year, or they tear an ACL for football, or, you know, whatever the injury is.
I mean, you remember Kevin Durant, when they lost the finals to the Raptors, he was hurt and he tore his Achilles, like damn near the same way. He tried to play it while injured, and it's just, there's a lot of wear and tear in the game.
There's just not a lot of give on a hardwood floor.
Yeah, but I mean, you're changing direction so fast, and you're
wearing shoes that are designed to not slide at all. You are planting.
Well, remember too, did you see the meme going around that showed like the old shoes back in like Jordan days?
Yeah, they used to play like Converses. You didn't see Achilles tears back then.
You never saw an Achilles tear. Now they have these shoes that are like freaking astronaut shoes.
Something's got to give. It's either that they're practicing too hard, not getting enough rest, or
it's like the
old shoes were better.
In skiing, you have breakaway bindings, right? When you wreck, your binding breaks off the boot, so you don't break your leg. And if the shoe doesn't give, the body's going to give. It's just that simple.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic to say, are we kind of setting up, you know, the new generation of athletes for failure with everything we've you have to do this and you have to do that and you have to do this to get in front of college coaches. And
I mean, it could be brought up that's why Tommy John surgery happens so damn often nowadays, because you've been throwing 90 since you were like 13 years old.
Exactly.
So Jake and I, when we were in Knoxville last week at the bar, we were literally talking to this guy who was a U11 coach. He's like, my team's so great. And I'm like, buddy, your kids aren't going to Major League Baseball, okay? We want them to play all year round, 12 months out of the year. I mean, the 11 years old, you're like, dude, you need to wake up.
Your 11-year-old's going to grow up hating you.
Or he's never going to play baseball again.
He's going to hate baseball.
Exactly.
Yeah. Won't be able to stand the sight of it on TV. But I think I would close out on NBA a little bit. There was a big trade that happened, and I think people kind of speculated that he was going to get traded, but I think it's still surprising that the Rockets ended up trading for Kevin Durant. That was just wild to me. It was really weird, but I think it's cool. I think trading Dillon Brooks and Jalen Green, it's not too much.
Well, who'd they draft last night that they were all happy about?
Oh my God. Well, I was pissed. Well, I was pissed. It wasn't the Rockets that ended up trading him because they traded that pick to the Suns, but they had the 10th pick and they traded it to Phoenix for Kevin Durant, and then I think like 5 second-round picks and Dillon Brooks and Jalen Green, but Phoenix ended up taking the Duke center that I wanted on the Bulls.
Yeah. And then Cooper Flagg went first overall. That's no surprise.
Yeah, so I mean, the NBA draft was last night, but it's, it is what it is. The NBA draft is very kind of lackluster, and it's outside of the top 10 picks. There's not a lot of buzz, although those players, I mean, granted, anyone can end up being great, but...
I also heard it's the lowest amount of players that entered the draft pool since, 2003 or something like that. There was only 100.
Well, why go to the NBA when you can
NIL?
That's the argument.
NIL.
That's the argument. Look it up. I want to know the exact number. I think it was 110, 115 people who entered into the NBA draft this year, and it was historically low. Another thing, though, that speaking of,
I forgot this happened. I remember
Kevin Durant going to a new team to hopefully try to win. LeBron, it's been all over. He came out in a podcast.
It was on a podcast with Steve Nash. Yeah.
Talking about how he doesn't know why we talk about ring culture the way we do.
Well, maybe it's because you left for Miami in search of rings and then came back to Cleveland in search of a ring, left for LA in search of a ring, and you're the face of the league for the last 20 years.
This is what I think he's doing. I think he's starting to realize that he's not going to catch Jordan. And the only person that he's been compared to is Jordan.
The one and only.
And I'm going to say the only argument, but most of the time when people talk about the LeBron versus Jordan argument, they bring up Jordan was 6-0, LeBron would have, you're not. And you've lost a couple, you've done all that.
Yep.
So I think he's trying to justify.
He's been to 9 finals, 8 or 9.
Smart as hell, though. What he's doing, he's trying to justify.
No one is discrediting LeBron's brain.
Oh no! He is marketing himself to all of his fans, to all of his people. That he's right.
Yeah,
championships are team. Championships are this. But like you just said, though, ultimately, why'd you go to Miami?
Yeah.
Why did you go back to Cleveland? Why did you go to LA? It was all to get rings. To then have...
That is literally the focus of all of those decisions. So you cannot tell me 15 years later, after all of this happened, that now they don't matter.
Exactly.
They were the epitome of your career. Why you made decisions.
And this is also what I find discouraging, that I hope doesn't happen, but we have kind of gotten away from, I think, winning as a whole in college sports, in even in the NFL. It's, how much money can I make?
Yep.
And then, I'm good. And then after I make my money, I'll go to a team that I'll win a Super Bowl with towards the back half of my career.
What if they made it so that maybe that's because they need some more, it sounds bad, but incentives to win. So the Super Bowl winner gets to, I don't know, have certain perks every year, and those expire after the season, and they're only for that one team, or stuff like that players would actually care about. Maybe not an extra paycheck bonus, but real shit.
Yeah.
The problem
your family,
is this,
I don't know.
I mean, NIL, I think you guys just pointed it out. I mean, when I look at these numbers right now, so you're right, 106 declared for this draft.
That's it.
Last year, so listen to these numbers. If we just go back last year, 195. The year before, 242.
That's almost
283.
Down,
353 in 2021.
Shit.
Okay, so the number, so NIL has brought that number down, and that should be concerning. That's what people are saying. But to finish out, I just hope that, because it used to be winning games, winning championships, like that was the goal.
Yeah.
Now, I seriously think the focus and the shift. How can I build my brand? How can I build my personal brand? How can I be
as marketable
my
as
legacy?
possible.
How can I make as much money for myself
Yeah.
instead of, hey, how many championships am I going to win? How many games am I going to win?
You can blame social media for that.
Social media, you can blame money, you can blame a lot of things, but you know, when LeBron, someone, regardless of what you think of him, when someone like that, who, I mean, top 2 basketball player ever, when you look at it, LeBron, Jordan, whatever you think, no questions asked.
Those are the only 2 in the conversation.
The only 2 in the conversation. When you have that type of player saying those things, that's going to trickle down to the generations.
That's a ripple effect.
Yes.
That is a huge ripple effect, and I hope LeBron knows the fire he's playing with.
Oh, he knows. He knows.
He just don't care. He
just doesn't care.
He don't give a shit.
He doesn't care the same way he didn't care with his kid, and the same way he doesn't care with some of the other stuff he says. So that's what I really hope, because we've gotten away from the winning culture of sports, and that is what makes me a little concerned and a little sad when someone like this comes out and says, rings don't matter.
Yep.
My personal accolades matter more than I lead the league in points scored. That matters more than how many rings I have. So I'm the best. I don't like that narrative that he's pushing. And
this is his last resort.
Exactly.
For pleading his case.
Very smart.
For pleading
very
his case.
Smart.
It is.
I give him all the credit of him doing what he's doing.
On top of sitting into a podcast with a player who is known as one of the greats that doesn't have a ring, Steve Nash.
Well, so. and to what he said, he was saying like, well, Peyton Manning can't sit in the same room as Tom Brady.
He's right. They don't.
In a way, he's right.
He's right. They don't.
Like he's right.
Yeah. You accidentally proved our point for us that
it's not saying that Peyton Manning wasn't this amazing quarterback, won a Super Bowl, could throw the ball, was very smart.
His example is even like, it's lazy because Mahomes isn't even in the conversation with Brady. We talked about that. Now he's lost a Super Bowl. Him and Montana are in the same tier. It's Brady and then everyone else. So it's not a good argument.
You know, and he brought up like Dan Marino, where like, is Dan Marino one of the best throwers of the football?
Well, I mean, if you ask me that, I'm going to say yes, he was one of the best.
Yes,
I mean, he was.
But when it comes to
greatest ever,
greatest
of all time,
or GOAT,
greatest,
of like how we want to paint the argument of Jordan versus LeBron, or
any GOAT conversation, winning has to be involved.
It has to.
Greatest.
It has to.
Greatness.
Not just stats, not just passing yards, not just points.
It's everything.
Yes.
Everything.
I agree.
And so, I don't get the argument, and I do think, it's a last-ditch effort to try and plead his case for being the GOAT, which
before he retires and knowing, like,
he goes out.
I'm probably not going to win any more championships, so I got to do something because I know I'm not going to catch him.
Well, the West ain't getting any easier. That's
it's polarizing, too. I mean, Jake and I, again, we were up in Knoxville. We met all these guys at the bar, right, Jake? But you remember that guy, like, we were talking about Jordan and LeBron, and everybody has an opinion. Who's the greatest? You know, I have my opinion. Everybody has their opinion.
Yep.
And it's all based on different things. And what did that guy say to you, Jake? He literally said, well, it's because you're young, because you didn't get to see Jordan play. Yeah. And that's a big part of it too. Like you guys didn't get to see Montana.
I agree.
You didn't get to see, Dan Marino. You didn't get to see these guys play. They were
that's true.
Fucking awesome.
I
bet they were.
But there's levels to it.
Sure.
And when you can't just dismiss like that's why you play.
Well, you can say one of the greatest ever.
You can
but
argue,
if you're going to call someone the GOAT, they better have some rings.
You can argue that Marino is even in the conversation. One, because he's a great thrower of the football, but it's just no rings. It's really important, like very, very important, and it honestly that's the deciding factor, and it's because Marino probably isn't any worse than Montana.
Marino. Okay, you guys have to know this. Marino did get to one Super Bowl.
Yeah, he lost.
Right? Who did he lose to?
Elway, right?
Montana.
Yeah, or Montana. He lost to Montana.
Like, I mean, Montana was on a tear. I mean, look what that guy did.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Then look at Manning. If Brady didn't exist, Manning has a couple more Super Bowls.
If Manning doesn't exist,
Tom
has 10.
So
either Manning's.
Yeah.
So it's all
Timing's a part of it.
Oh, it is.
And that we're seeing that right now with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, with what Patrick Mahomes is doing.
Is kind of gatekeeping.
If it wasn't for Mahomes, Burrow might have one. Josh Allen definitely might have one.
Well, Burrow could still have one, even because he's the only one to beat. But like Lamar,
Josh, all of those guys. You know, you just never know. So I hope that that's not the case for some of the Josh Allen's and Lamar's. Is like, well, they played when Mahomes was playing, the same way Peyton Manning was playing when Brady played, or Ben Roethlisberger, or some of those guys. So it's a fun conversation to talk about, but yeah, LeBron.
It's a never ending. It'll go on forever.
Yeah, and that's the great part about it.
I mean, because you guys, I have news for you. You will be arguing with your kids.
Yeah.
Someday, Dawson, you're going to be arguing with your kid that Tom Brady wasn't the greatest quarterback of all time.
Oh, he's ready for that.
Dad, this guy. And
someone's
going to
look at you and say
understand.
Patrick Mahomes is the greatest of all time, and you're just going to have to sit there and be like, sure, man.
Watch how fast I drop him off at the adoption center. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. We're all jokes. All jokes. Well, anyway, we are going to get into our popular.
Oh, here we go.
On a 4th and goal.
4th down and 20. 4th and 21. Not the way you want to try to extend it.
Our 4th and long. We've been doing this has been a lot of fun to just kind of open up conversations, talk about different things. 4th and long with Chris. What do you have for us?
Take it away,
week?
Chris.
I'm excited about today. We got a bunch of good stuff for you. So first off, out of the gate. So the Los Angeles Lakers sold last week for
I did see this.
$10 billion, right? $10 billion. So the funny thing is that the team was actually purchased for $67 million 40 years ago.
Jerry Buss.
So obviously huge profit. Now, Dylan, you're going to love this one. The Bears were purchased by the Hallis family.
$100.
For $100.
Was it really?
Yep. $100 back in the 20s.
Right now, that team is definitely in the billions. Yep. So I want to know, Dylan, would you do what the Buss family just did? Would you sell and walk away? Or are you keeping it? I want to know if you're punting or if you're going for it and going to win that trophy.
Oh, so which way would I answer if I want to go for the trophy? Like do you want to
own the Bears?
I want to own the Bears. I'm not getting rid of the Bears ever. Never, ever, ever.
Yeah.
Never. And I can't. You can't compare because the Busses, I don't think, grew up Lakers fans. I think they were.
What an amazing amount of money, though, that these sports teams are starting to be worth.
$10 billion.
And it tells you why. Like, even talking about what you guys just said a minute ago about the, literally small market teams, the value of the league, the advertising. You can't tell me that teams like the Lakers don't want to somehow try to be there every year. And this year,
that $10 billion is going to help them with some free agents.
And it's like the Dodgers, like what the Dodgers are doing.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing.
It's the same thing.
Oh, you want to know the funny thing? The Dodgers owner is the guy that purchased the Lakers.
I did.
Yes, that is, What a surprise.
Jake, that's right.
What I want to know is the Buss family not going to get paid for like 40 years? No, not anyway. Who knows? I mean, this guy's the king of putting payments out really far. Okay, so here we go. So, you guys, there are some athletes that have sold or basically have bought and trademarked trade names. Michael Jordan, obviously Air Jordan.
Air Jordan.
He owns the Jordan brand. Nike does own Air Jordan, but he owns that. LeBron, King James, chosen one. LeBron, Curry is SC30. Dawson, TB12. Tom Brady owns that. Gronkowski owns Gronk. Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch. There's so many of them. Okay, so I don't know if you heard in the news, but Angel Reese made news a week ago. She literally, she finally even got a triple-double. Good for her. Woohoo! She literally just, I don't know who thought this was a good idea. She trade named MeBound. She now owns MeBound. I want to know, Dylan, you want to be an agent. You want to be a sports agent. Like, would you let your client literally, the ones I just went through, like Beast Mode? MeBound. Yeah. Would you make your client
give Angel Reese
go for it? What are they thinking?
We give Angel Reese shit. I am so fucking proud of her for this. This is really? This is awesome.
So there's no such thing as
great, dude.
I say it all the time to you. You've heard me say it 1,000 times. Yes. There's no such thing as bad publicity. Yeah. So for one, this is great.
That's awesome.
For two, this is like you're now nicknaming yourself.
Fuck yeah.
You shoot 32% from your field goal percentage.
She's owning your number to 32.
She shoots almost 85, 90% of her field goals from
inside the paint.
Inside the paint.
She's owning it.
You suck so much at shooting free throws.
Own it.
That you had to nickname yourself
Own it.
Me-bound because you get your own rebounds off your own
like
layups.
over half of her rebounds are her own.
So there's that side of it where it's like
70%.
Really embarrassing that's what you're like going to be known for.
Get that
is
bag.
Me getting my rebounds on my own layups while you.
No, they're me-bounds. They're not rebounds.
Me-bounds while you've been compared to Caitlin Clark, who shoots from the logo and has a better 3-point percentage than she does. A layup percentage.
Are we going to get sued for saying me-bounds? Do
Probably.
We have to tell her? Do we have to say everybody that's hers?
Shit. Angel.
No, I love it. I think, I can't remember if it was Nick Young or someone, Jeff Teague, one of their podcasts, that compared her to Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect. That's what you should be marketing yourself
I guess
as.
To me, though, look,
you are me-bounds.
I believe in positive attribution, self-talk. TB12, SC30,
Me-bounds.
beast mode, but seriously, I just can't. That would be like Aaron Rodgers trademarking, INT man or so. I don't know.
It's
made me so happy.
I don't know.
It's par for the course. I think
is. It's just crazy. Of course.
It's funny.
I just can't wait to see the t-shirts and the.
I'm going for that all day.
Should we get one and hang it up on the wall?
Absolutely. We need one.
Here we go.
Especially because she plays for Chicago.
Okay, you guys. So here's another one. So Coastal Carolina, they got to the championship versus LSU.
They had like a 33-game win streak or something
they were amazing. A couple of those guys are going to play, in the bigs. We'll see that.
Oh, yeah.
LSU won their second title in 3 years.
Yeah.
So in that game where the Carolina coach, both of them were thrown out in game 1 in the first inning.
For a horrible pitch, by the way. Horrible pitch.
Yeah,
which,
at that point, it was over, right? So I just wonder, is it... I think maybe the coach knew they were already done. Who knows? But should those coaches have been tossed? Are you punting? Are you going for it? Would you have kicked those coaches out at that point so early in such a big game and such a big, highly publicized moment?
I'm punting this all the way.
Yeah,
I'm already an advocate for robo-umps, but it's like quit making the game. Let the coaches and players decide. I
agree with you. I also think. Yeah, I don't think they should have got kicked out. Do I think he maybe the coach should have looked at it maybe a little more like, okay, let me back down a little bit. It's the first inning. I don't want to get thrown out. If we win this game, we have to play another game.
Yeah.
And if I get kicked out of this game and we somehow win, I can't even coach the third game, which would be the deciding game.
That's true.
So, and I take that with a little bit of after the game in his press conference, he didn't say anything about a season. He really didn't, all he wanted to talk about was getting kicked out and how unathletic the umpire was for falling over where it's like, at that point, it's over, it's done. You had a really good team. Yeah. You had made a really good run with a 26-game win streak going into the World Series. And it just felt like, to me, he used that time to where he could have really talked about his players and his team and everything they accomplished.
That's true.
For himself.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of selfish, from him getting kicked out to the umpire, having it be about him and him throwing him out. And then the first
instead of me-bounds, baseball's turning into me-ball. It's just a bunch of fucking me-ball.
We better trademark umpires that today.
And get on it.
So I didn't like that he got thrown out just because of the game it was. I thought the coach could have had a little more just
couth. But
not couth, but just understanding of hey, if I get thrown out here and we win this game, I can't coach the third game. That would really suck.
Some more awareness.
More awareness. And then at the end of the game, at the press conference, it was just
all about him.
It was all about him. And I would just wanted to be like, dude, talk about your team.
Though, the naysayers, some of the guys are going to comment on this post, I'm sure. They're going to say, the rules in baseball. They knew the rules. Yeah, they did. But at some point, come on. Some of these rules, again, like we talked about a few weeks ago, look what they get away with on a football field.
Yeah.
That would have been a 15-yard penalty, but in baseball, it's 2 games out. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's more black and white.
Maybe they need a penalty box. The coach, they put the coach in timeout over in the dugout, and you're you go over there and you think about what you said to me for
MMA.
15 minutes, and then you can come back.
Cage. Oh, yeah. That'll make it fun.
It's unfortunate because I think it took away a lot of what that team did this year. For it being Coastal Carolina, for no one really... that moment of what happened in the first inning and then after the game, I think took away a lot of what that team was as a whole and doing what they did this year. So that to me is what sucked. I thought the coach could have handled it a little bit better.
Oh, definitely.
I do agree, though, that I think that umpire in the first inning,
punt the ump.
Like in the first inning, you're throwing out the head coach in the second game of the College World Series final.
Yeah, that's
to me. He made it about him. He made it about him. Yeah, so there were a lot of things wrong in that whole. Do I think it was going to matter though? LSU is probably.
I think LSU was going to win regardless.
A
lot of talent.
It could have been better on all sides. Okay. I would say.
Yeah, probably.
So I got one more for you. So you guys already mentioned that the draft was last night. And of course, the number one pick, Cooper Flagg. I mean, everybody knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Went to the Mavericks. Yay, whatever. I don't know if you know, but the 5th pick last night was actually a local kid from McEachern. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
So a local kid went. In fact, three players have been drafted from McEachern.
Wait, Ace Bailey's from
McEachern? Ace Bailey's from McEachern.
I did not know that.
Yes, so he was right here, local kid, right?
Ace Bailey is a fucking dog.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, and the third player
Jazz,
actually from McEachern that has made it, that has been drafted in the NBA. So that was cool.
Huh.
But so listen though, here's what's interesting is so back in the 2009 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves had the 5th and 6th pick. I don't know if you know this. They took point guards in both of those positions. 2 point guards because they thought we thought we could have a nice duo back there with these 2 point guards. Well, it doesn't matter who they are because it doesn't matter because the next pick was Golden State Warriors, 7th pick, Steph Curry. So, I just want to know. I mean, that was obviously a huge blunder. In fact, the GM, if you want to know, he did not get his contract renewed a couple of years later. So, of the biggest draft blunders of all time like that, do you think that was one of the biggest ones? There are some others that I can let you guys in on. But do you think there'll be another one like that again?
Well, I mean,
where they just miss?
I think the Trailblazers have missed out on Michael Jordan and Kevin Durant, so I think like that already.
You can throw in the Luka
the Hawks drafting Luka and then trading Luka for Trae Young. That's another one in there. There's a lot.
There really are a lot. I mean,
but
even
Steph Curry, arguably the best.
Have to be.
Shooter.
Well, Minnesota, just because Minnesota had two chances at getting.
I mean,
right before.
Dylan, let's talk about your Bears trading all the way up to get.
I could talk about us taking Kevin White 7th overall. Go and look at that draft in 2014.
How about the Cleveland? Did you know the Cleveland Browns didn't pick Ben Roethlisberger?
Yeah,
they took some guy named Kellen Winslow.
Yeah,
Kellen Winslow.
You can go down. I think. You can go down the list of teams that took quarterbacks that didn't take this quarterback that ended up being like Mahomes. Yeah. Look at all the teams that picked before
the 49ers
Mahomes.
Taking Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Trading
Mike
3
Trout
first-round
dropped all the way to the second round. Every team passed on Mike Trout.
Yeah. That's why I say it's like 50% luck. Like
throwing darts at a board.
It really is, and hoping that one lands in the bullseye.
Oh, we didn't even say Brady.
Yeah. I mean,
199.
So there's so many examples that you can give to help that argument.
You could say, I mean, honestly, I know he hasn't won yet, but all of the teams passing on Lamar in the draft, and
even
Josh Rosen got taken in that draft, and it was Josh Allen as well. But I mean, you can't tell me that there were 4 quarterbacks better than Lamar Jackson that year. He just came off a fucking Heisman year, so it's like There's plenty of examples.
GMs, man, you just wonder how they keep their jobs.
Well, it goes, I think, to the argument.
It's all about who you know, Chris. It's all about who you know.
It also just you never sometimes these players are overanalyzed, and you think way too hard about the numbers and the analytics and all this crap to where chances are some of that stuff doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Watch the film.
Oh, Shador too. I mean,
that remains to be seen.
It's a different scenario just because I feel like he did it a little bit to himself. But I mean, still, he shouldn't have fallen to the 5th. He shouldn't have gone before after Tyler Shuck or Milroe or Dylan Gabriel. Shouldn't have gone after any of them, regardless of what you thought about him as a person.
And you never know. 10 years from now, we could be looking at that and going,
wow,
all those teams are stupid.
And look at how
the Steelers were stupid for not taking him.
The Saints, the Seahawks, the Raiders.
My Dolphins should have taken him.
But that is what I think makes sports awesome, because it's like, and this is why people come, especially for football, why fans always come back even if their team sucks.
Yep.
Because there's always a hope.
Say, though, did anybody even care the NBA draft was last night?
I didn't even know. I forgot.
You know what they got to do? They got to draw.
I saw it on Twitter as I was like going to bed.
I saw the picture of Cooper Flag. And I was like, oh, that's tonight.
They need to have the lottery like literally like 5 minutes before the first pick.
Well, they can't because then you can't have players like Cooper Flag contemplating dropping out.
Well, right. You can't do that now.
If the Utah Jazz end up with the first pick.
Good point. Yeah. Guys, that's all I got for you.
Well, awesome.
That was a good one.
That was a good fourth and long.
Yes,
good fourth and long.
I like it.
So now, like we've mentioned, we are going into the NFC East Breakdown. This division, I think, is full of a lot of great teams, a lot of great stories that happen in the offseason.
This isn't like satire. I think this, quite honestly, could be one of the better divisions in football.
I agree.
think all of these teams got better or stayed as good as they were.
And we get to make fun of the Cowboys for everything they do.
Don't make fun of the Super Bowl.
I was going to say, as much as I want to make fun of the Cowboys, I can't do much.
To start, though, let's go the Eagles. I think the
Super Bowl
Eagles
champs.
I was talking to Jake. Jake's like, "What do you think about the Eagles?" I was like, "Jake, they literally have their whole.
They
team
lost
still.
nobody.
They lost Darius Slay and they lost.
They
Quincy,
lost Milton Williams and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Yes, so they lost those guys.
To which they replaced.
They replaced immediately in the draft.
All of them.
The Eagles, to me, are the same team as last year.
Yeah.
And
a little bit worse of a pass rush, I will say that, on the edges, because they traded. So Bryce Huff, they traded to the 49ers.
The Patriots got one of them.
Milton Williams, you guys signed Milton Williams. Yeah. And so that and Brandon Graham retired. So it's going to look different. But
they've been building
Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean. You've still got Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. I mean,
they've been building that D line the past couple years.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many people they lost. Yeah. It doesn't.
But the Eagles, to me, I think it's not crazy to say that they're going to win this division. It's not crazy to say they could be first in the NFC.
It's their division to lose.
I agree with that. Jalen Hurts is playing. You have Saquon healthy. If he can even do 50% of what he did last year, it's going to help that team in so many different ways. Your receiving core is really good.
Yep.
Dallas Goedert. Oh, is it? No. Yeah. It's Dallas Goedert. It came back.
Decent tight end. Yeah.
Where for a long time he
thought he was going
to get traded. He didn't. So that team
obviously have Saquon. Jalen Hurts. The tush push didn't get banned. So it's
everything is going good for Eagles.
And life's great.
It sucks because I think Philly fans are so annoying, and I think everyone can back me up on that if you're not a Philly fan.
Yeah.
But the Eagles, to me, they're just.
So you think they could repeat?
I think they could seriously repeat. They have their quarterback. They have their running back. They have their whole core of O-line. They have really good receivers. Their defense, like we mentioned, their linebackers are great. Their D-line is they have a lot of depth.
Yeah, they re-signed Zach Bond, what's the Defensive Player of the Year candidate, massive. And so this kind of went unlooked a little bit, but they have gone out and got some guys that have already played on teams in the division. So Adoree Jackson they went and signed for the secondary, which probably going to be like a rotational piece, or he could be starting opposite Quinyon Mitchell because Cooper DeJean normally plays in the slot. But they went out and got Azeez Ojulari, who's another pass rusher who played with the Giants. And then I honestly like A.J. Dillon as a backup running back. Imagine
the tush push is crazy with A.J. Dillon.
Imagine having to tackle Jalen Hurts, then Saquon Barkley, and then you wrap it up with A.J. Dillon, probably the biggest legs in the entire league.
Tush push going to go crazy next year with A.J. Dillon.
Yeah, they know exactly what the fuck they were doing with those. But I mean, it happens every year. The Eagles are one of the best drafting teams in the league, and they did it again.
Yeah.
They just wait for players to fall to them. Like they took the Alabama linebacker Jihad Campbell, they took at 32. I don't think anybody thought he was going to be there still. People had him projected top 10 in some drafts.
Saw that one live too, and there was a lot of people where we were all looking at each other
we were like, fuck.
How did that just happen again?
What the hell?
Yeah.
And then later, it was either the second or third round, they took the Texas safety to replace Gardner-Johnson. Andrew Makuba, great. And then a Georgia linebacker, which, you know what they love.
Can't go wrong with Georgia linebackers.
No. Smell Munden, another just fast linebacker, sideline to sideline. But looking at their schedule a little bit, I know we've kind of been talking about like their floor and their ceiling. Really think anything less than 11 games is disappointing for this team. They have a tough schedule, don't get me wrong, especially early, but I think 11 wins is like the least they win.
Yeah, I think they probably win more than 11. They
pull up their schedule and look at their first like 6 games.
They probably do really good in the division as well.
Look at their first 6 games. So yeah, we all know they kick off the season against Dallas at home. But then they have the Super Bowl rematch the week after in Kansas City. And then they have to play Los Angeles at home. Then they go to Tampa Bay. And then they host Denver the week after.
Yeah, it gets a little bit easier after that.
Yeah. New York twice in 3 weeks. You get Minnesota.
Got Buffalo, Washington at the end of the year. So that Buffalo game could have some implications to it.
Play Cincinnati late, too. Who knows what the Bengals are going to be back at that point. So I still think I'm saying 11 wins, though, because the team is just so damn good. They didn't lose anybody. As long as they stay healthy, that's one of the best rosters in the league.
I think if
maybe the best.
Yeah, you have a healthy Saquon and Jalen Hurts. I think that team is...
Their ceiling is like 13 or 14 wins again, I think, which is good for the 1 or 2 seed.
Yeah. Eagles, they're going to be back.
They're one of the teams to beat.
As annoying as they are with their fan base,
yeah, it's crazy.
They're going to be back.
It's crazy.
They reloaded very well. Next team, the team we all love to make fun of.
But I will say, it's like, I mentioned it last night. I don't think that there's much that we can make fun of for this offseason. They actually, I will give them, outside of like George Pickens is a wild card, I'm giving them a round of applause.
Let's not forget that their head coach.
That's true. See, it's like there's a lot of question marks, but I like the personnel decisions they made. Maybe not like, they went and hired in-house and didn't get a guy like, I think they didn't even try to hire any of the other top coaching candidates.
Though. Like their defense coordinator.
That's why I added it. So, new defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, Matt Eberflus.
Nice.
Hey, you watch. He's going to have such a good year.
Job,
He's going to get another head coaching job next year.
I don't think anybody's going to touch him with a 50-foot pole after what happened in Detroit.
You'd be surprised.
But I will give him credit. He's got a decent bend, don't break defense. It doesn't always, perform when you don't have the pieces for it. But ironically, we do play Dallas week 3. In Chicago.
That's funny.
So that's going to be great. But I mean, let's just move.
Could you imagine the chants that are going to be going on in that stadium?
Oh my God.
Bill, what are they going to be chanting?
Time out. That's what it's going to be. But no, traded for George Pickens. I think him and CeeDee Lamb are nasty together. That's scary.
Yeah, my only thing, because I brought this up when we first talked about it. To me, they're very similar in how they play.
I think CeeDee's going to be a slot.
Yeah, and that's what you brought up, and I hear you on that because he had to play a ton last year all over the field.
Yeah,
I just still think their main positions are outside, so it's going to be very interesting to see.
It will be
kind of how they do that and how CeeDee Lamb is kind of notorious for complaining when he doesn't get the ball. We saw what he did with George Pickens, or what George Pickens did in Pittsburgh when he didn't get the ball.
And now they're together.
Competing. So that could just be a dumpster fire waiting to happen. True. So that will be a cool storyline to follow as the season goes on, especially for fantasy purposes.
I think it's not a stretch to say that Dallas might be like the boomer bust team for the NFL this year.
Yeah.
Like, it can go either way, and it's both extremes. It can either be great or fucking terrible, and it's no in between. But they made some other trades, like Kyer Elam for the Bills is kind of like underwhelming corner, but they already have Trayvon Diggs, so they also have Deron Bland. So this guy, having him as a backup, I don't think is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Traded for Kenneth Murray too.
You never have too many corners.
They went and got 3 running backs. They signed Miles Sanders, and I like Javonte Williams. Yeah. Another year away from his torn ACL, hopefully get some speed back. Dante Fowler is another good veteran linebacker. Then Jack Sanborn, I added his name because he was a Bear for a while. I think he just came off his rookie contract. Just be ready for him. He didn't get any playing time, or not a lot of playing time because of the linebackers we have, but he's a dog. And then I like their draft too.
They didn't typically do what they do in the draft, where it seems like
they stuck to the books.
They drafted a line, they drafted
the
defense,
Alabama guard. Great pick. Yeah. This is the Donovan Ezeraku's the Boston College pass rusher, right? Another one. And they lost some pass rushers in free agency. So, and then Siobhan Revel Jr. ran like a 4.2 and he's a corner.
And so then the running back out of
the Texas running back,
the blue. So you know he played for a really good team in college. You never know what he'll bring to already, I think, a pretty loaded running back room. So he might not even make the team.
I will say though, it's
looking at that,
like discussing their floor and their ceiling. I'm looking at their schedule again, and it's like, man, I want to say that Dallas did a good job and like they'll be competitive, but fuck, this is a tough schedule.
It's going to be boom or bust, like you said.
It is.
It's either going to go really, really good, and all of a sudden we're going to look at them and go, oh, they're like, got 9-10 wins, or they're going to have 4 wins.
So they have, through week 11, they have the potential to have like 6 wins. But after week 11, Philly, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, Chargers, Commanders, Giants.
Wow. They could lose almost all those.
That's tough.
They could lose 5 of those.
That's really tough to end the season. So it's because I'm, paying attention to this. I'm kind of working through the division rankings in my head. And it's kind of like, as much as we say this division really is like going to be competitive and fun, I feel like there's only one way it falls. Like in the rankings, it's like there's very clearly a best team, second best team, third, but onto the worst team with the hardest schedule in the league, who made a lot of changes, I think, but the Giants.
Yeah, the Giants fall. I'll stay true to my argument that I have with all teams. The Giants fall into the category of I have no clue what they're going to get from quarterback.
Yeah.
And to me, if you don't have a good quarterback in this league, if you don't know what you're going to get consistently week in and week out, you are just not going to be a good, consistent football team.
Yep.
And until they have a quarterback that comes out and, is able to do that for them, I just don't, even with...
I'm rooting for Jackson Dart.
I am too, and I don't even know how much time he's going to get.
That's
because
true. Well, they've got the hardest schedule.
They're going to play Russell Wilson 100%.
Why would you throw him out against the schedule?
And then Jameis Winston is notorious for coming in and winning a couple games just out of the blue. So if he does that, and then Jackson Dart gets the last 4 or 5 games of the season, if that.
I don't know how a team that finished last in their division has this schedule. That is like to pull this up and just take a look at it. It's bad. But signing Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston both seems very weird. I don't know why. I would assume one of them gets traded somewhere. But they signed Paulson Adebo, who's a Saints corner. Really good slot guy. So they've made some moves, and they signed Javon Holland, who, Chris, you're familiar with from the Dolphins.
Safety.
Safety. He's a stud.
Yeah, he just dealt with some injuries in Miami.
Yeah, he did. But when he's healthy, one of the best. And, I mean, I like their draft. Like, again, they got Abdul Carter fell to them. Yeah. Incredible. Their pass rush is going to be one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
But, again, I don't think it matters. Like,
I don't think it's going to matter.
I don't think it matters. They may be fun to watch, and, they'll put up some points, but I just don't think they're going to win many games. And it's like, it sucks to say because I feel like the roster overall doesn't look that bad. Like, I mean, I'm scrolling through. It's really not that bad. They could use maybe another safety.
It all comes back to me, the quarterback position. Yeah. If you don't have consistency at that position, I don't care what type of pass rush you have. Exactly. I don't care what type of running backs you have.
That's why I think Jackson Dart needs, I do believe in him. And I know that Daboll's a good coach as well, a good quarterback guy. But
what about that running back though?
They took Scatabo. They took the Minnesota safety as well, Mubin, whatever it is, dog. And so they've got a lot of talent on the roster, but it's just their schedule, dude. Like they open up at Washington, then they go to Dallas, then they have Kansas City, then the Chargers, and then they get a freebie with the Saints, and then the Eagles, the Broncos, the Eagles again, the 49ers, the Bears, the Packers, Detroit.
Yeah,
dude, where do you see wins there? Like outside of 1 or 2 games.
If you don't have consistent quarterback play.
Yeah. So. It's not good. And so they're probably looking forward to next year. I think this is probably like similar to what you were kind of looking at with the Patriots last year. Show me some improvement. Show me some potential for the years following that, give me a reason to tune in. Give me a reason.
So if they underperform, like we might say, are they firing their coach?
That's
you kind of have to,
the
right?
Thing is like,
or is he going to be able to finagle another? No, hold on.
Now that because they have Dart, but it's just like this is the issue with not syncing up your rookie quarterbacks with your coaches' contracts because you have shit like this that unravels every time. The Bears were notorious for doing it over and over and over again until we finally learned. So maybe this is the Giants' opportunity, but they've already.
Well, even that
already
you guys kind of didn't learn because
not really.
Now it's
not
a
really.
little
You're
bit
right.
weird. So
still haven't figured it quite out.
Yeah, that is a good point though. I don't know what you do if they have another season where they only win 4 games. You fire him or do you give him another shot?
He made the playoffs the first year.
I mean, what would you do?
I would give him another shot just because I know the type of play caller he is. But it's just, I feel like the schedule has to play into it. It's like you cannot, as an owner or a GM, there's no way in hell that you look at the schedule and think to yourself, oh yeah, we can pump out 7 or 8 games.
Especially in the division you're in too. On top of that,
no.
Where even if you run the gauntlet and win your out of division games, you've got to play the Eagles twice. You got to play. Say what you want about the Cowboys. You got to play the Cowboys.
And
now you got to play Washington twice too. And we saw
another good team.
And that's the last one we're gonna talk about here in a sec.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't see it. And if I were them, I would probably keep the coach for another year.
I think you should.
I think you have to, especially if Dart comes in and plays the last 4 games of the season and looks good.
That's a good question. Like realistically, when does Dart play during this season?
When the season's over and Russell Wilson, isn't performing or isn't doing, what they want him to do. And then it's okay, throw him out there. It's our rookie quarterback. We need to see what we got. So we can maybe make a decision if we need to fire our coach or if we need to keep him.
Yeah, but what happens?
Like
what happens when you open
Penix, up? When he came out and had those great 4 games at the end of the year,
That's true.
It could be very
maybe
similar.
It saved the coach.
Yeah,
they gave him hope for this season.
It could be very similar.
But what happens when they open up the season at Washington and then at Dallas and lose both games by 40?
Then Dart's starting.
Then Dart's going to start game 3.
It's a game 3 starter. Jackson
Starting versus Kansas City on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
I love it.
We've discovered the blueprint.
Yeah.
We know the script.
We know the script.
Last team though, I think this team
the most interesting team to talk about.
because I still don't think you know what the hell you're going to get with them being second year, having film on their quarterback, the Commanders.
They made a lot of moves.
They did. They traded for Debo, which I think was great. A great, regardless of what you say about Debo, you have to worry about him no matter where he is on the field.
Yeah.
He's great in space, like you said. Screen game will be very good for, I think, a team that ran a lot of screens with running backs they had already.
With McLaurin too. Yeah.
So now you add him into the mix. They re-signed Zach Ertz, which I think was huge because he wanted to be there. We saw that at the end of the year last year with some of his press conferences. Yep. So that was cool for him.
Re-signed Bobby Wagner too, massive for the defense.
Yes.
I know he's not the player he once was, but he's still a leader.
Yes.
Still a great linebacker. So yeah, they've made a lot. And Laramie Tunsil, left tackle for the Texans, which had a down year last year. But if he can get back to somewhat of the form he was 2 years ago, I mean, the Commanders look really good, dude. I know their center got hurt late, and that really screwed them over in the playoffs. Biadaz or something like that. But they drafted a tackle. They got the Oregon tackle at 29, who I think a lot of people also thought had top 15 pick potential. And then a cornerback, which I think most would say the secondary was probably one of their weaker points, the Ole Miss guy, Trey Amos. So I think it obviously quarterback league, it rides a lot on the quarterback, but I mean, this is a really good roster.
Well, do you think we're going to see a sophomore slump with Daniels, or are we going to see
I think he's too
a carbon copy of what we saw last year?
I don't maybe not exactly the same, but I would have a very hard time believing that he has a slump of any kind, really, because I mean they kept the core, they kept everything, and they've got some fun games. That's the one thing about Washington now is they're going to be every game you're going to want to watch. And they've got some matchups that when they play Kansas City on Monday Night Football, it's going to be awesome. I know they play the Bears Monday Night Football too, 2 weeks before that. They've got some fun games. Playing the Broncos right after Thanksgiving, Sunday Night Football. They're going to be a team that I'm paying attention to all year, I think.
Well, you were very high on them last year to where I still thought they were way too young to make it. I kind of ate my words a little bit, making it all the way to the NFC Championship game. I didn't think they were going to be. So you add some more veteran guys. You add an experienced Jaden Daniels. This team.
Some more VR training?
I think,
as well.
This team, I think, gives the biggest threat to the Eagles, hands down.
Absolutely. And I don't. realistically, I mean, they play Philly in Week 18, and it's a flex game. So both of now that I'm looking at this, they play Philadelphia Week 16 and 18, and both of them are TBD.
Man,
so the league thinks that this division is coming down to them in the last week of the season, and maybe Philadelphia has like an 11-win season where they lose some games they shouldn't. AJ Brown loses his book. Finishes his book and runs out of stuff to calm him down.
To read,
but maybe they're going to Philadelphia.
Send AJ Brown one of my books?
We know a book AJ Brown.
AJ Brown needs a copy of Expectations, baby.
Damn right.
I want to sell 1 million copies in one day.
But I think, I see them finishing very close to Philly. I think it's a toss-up between the two for winning the division, with Philly having a slight edge. But on to the NFC East question.
Yeah, so who wins the division? I think we're both in agreement.
Philly.
That probably Philly.
Yeah.
I think how many teams are going to make this playoff? I would probably say 2.
2 or 3.
2 or 3.
Probably 2.
Probably leaning more towards 2, just because I think the NFC is a little bit better when it comes to talent from top to bottom.
Absolutely.
Final standings, I'll go Eagles. I'll go Eagles and Commanders making the playoffs.
Yep.
Like you kind of mentioned, that last stretch of the season will be a lot of fun to watch. Where we get see. I mean, for all we know, they could play each other 2 times at the regular season, and then all of a sudden they're playing each other in the playoffs.
Yep.
Depending on how the seeding is for the third time in the span of 2 months.
What happened last year?
Yeah. So that'd be interesting. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say the Cowboys finish 3rd.
Yep.
I don't think they have a very good season. I think they blow it up at the end of the year. For me, I hope they do.
That's an interesting question. Is like you committed to a coach, and this I bring this up a lot. It's like it can't be both people's fault once you commit to one. You've already committed to Dak, but at this point, you've more recently committed to Schottenheimer. So I think someone gets the axe if they end.
Something's got to give.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe Jerry gets the axe. Maybe Jerry gives the axe to himself.
I don't think so.
You don't think he'd be that self-aware?
I think he's gonna die in that Cowboys chair before he ever admits to him being wrong in any decision.
Do you think he'll host a tour of his deathbed before he leaves? Like he'll have one last group of Cowboys fans tapping on the glass saying bye to him?
I don't know.
They're gonna bury him under that star.
In the middle of the field.
They're gonna.
They're gonna spread his ashes.
That's funny. But yeah, no. I like I said, I think the Eagles, Commanders,
Cowboys,
Giants.
I think we're in agreement.
Giants are too tough a schedule for so many unknowns.
It doesn't matter.
And the Commanders and the Eagles are just sitting at top, going, "What's going to be?" Like you said, the NFL is already assuming that it's going to be between those 2 teams.
I think it's got a good chance,
which will be good for us. I'm completely fine with it.
Oh yeah,
watching those 2 teams have to play each other it sucks like what happened last year where some of the AFC stuff was already set towards week 17, week 18, and none of the teams were having to play starters or those games didn't matter.
No, it's fine.
It mattered for my team too because we lost out on the first overall pick because of the Bills not being able to play for anything. So I like how they're trying their hardest to set it up for these week 17, week 18 games to actually mean something.
Chicago and Detroit are week 18 too, TBD.
Yes.
So goes to show you what they think of Chicago.
Yes.
I don't know, man.
And we'll get it. We got plenty of time to talk about the Bears.
We got like a month.
When their division comes around.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that will wrap it up. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget, leave a like, follow, subscribe. Long content stuff is all on the YouTube and Spotify.
Sure.
All of our short clips, all where you can ask us questions, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. We hope you enjoyed the NFC East breakdown. If you have any thoughts, any questions of any guys who got added that you think will make a big enough difference for any of those teams, let us know. We love to hear your opinions because maybe we missed something. It happens all the time. We tried to list the best we could.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have anything, let us know, and we will see you guys next time.
Sure. It's been real, guys.